in terms of this bullet hell idea. So we started by, just with the rapid fire attack idea, we started with a whole lot of different kinds of projectiles. And none of them really kind of stuck for one reason or another. And then we got this idea, well, where does this skill really come from? And the other thing it's really trying to evoke is this old-timey arcade action idea. And so we hit on this idea, well, what if the sand wasp actually birthed other little mini wasps that flew at you? That would be really cool, and it would really support where we're coming from. And of course, we got that into the game, and the team didn't quite understand where we were coming from. So I was like, well, how can we communicate, even to the rest of the team, exactly what we're trying to get across and why this is such a cool thing? So I came up with this. The best way to do this is with graphics. So I came up with this little demonstration, again, that says everything, I think. So here's your player, and you can get used to the controls first. You just need something to attack. There is a boss. And the boss is brutally hard.
All right, next we went to the Fallen family because you can't have Diablo without the Fallen. These are the classic Diablo demons. A little bit of background on them. They used to be these exalted demons that were Azmodan's right hand. Before the Dark Exile, which is when Mephisto, Baal, and Diablo were exiled to Sanctuary, they tried, Azmodan and Belial tried once before to do this, and the Fallen in their previous state were the instruments they used to try to get this thing done. When they failed, Diablo turned them into their present impish, comical state, and that's how they've existed since then. Now they're kind of freelance. They don't work for any particular demon. They're just kind of equal opportunity demons who work for everybody. One of the things that we really loved about them, and this is, once again, we're reinforcing that idea of the different creatures working together, is their family relationships. And the classic family relationship, of course, in the Fallen family is the shaman and the imp, which is not going to play for us, but you've all seen it. The shaman resurrects the imp and throws fireballs. We upgraded their look, obviously, but that's where we took as a starting point for this. When you run in, the first thing, of course, you want to do is head straight for the shaman, or he's just going to keep, resurrecting all the imps that you kill. So the next thing we did was have videos that don't work on any of these. Are they working over there? They're working on the screen. I don't know what to do with that. Well, we'll just continue forward. So we made the Fallen Overseer. He's basically a bigger version of the imp. He's stronger, but he has a battle cry. And what's interesting about this is when he appears with a group of fallen imps, he makes them braver. If you recall in Diablo 2, the imps had a tendency to run away in fear when you killed one of them. When the Overseer shouts his battle cry, they get braver and they get tougher. They have less of a tendency to run away, and they're a little bit more difficult to kill. The Fallen Overseer himself is actually a little bit tough. He has this big wind-up and hit that does a lot of damage. So this was one new relationship, and I'm going to be really upset if this one doesn't play. I am going to cry now, because the Fallen Lunatic is awesome. He is the black sheep of the family, if you can imagine such a thing for demons. He's a living bomb. He runs at you and stabs himself in the stomach until he explodes. And if that sounds cool, you can imagine how it looks. I'm sure we'll put this up somewhere where you guys can see it. I apologize. But so anyways, it's really funny until you're surrounded by a group of fallen and low on health, and this guy comes running in and stabs himself and explodes and kills you. over to the Dune Thresher.
All right, so we've shown you a lot of monsters that we think have turned out really well, and now I'm going to talk about one that we like but think could really be better, and we consider to be a work in progress. So we call him the Dune Thresher, internal name Sand Shark. Those of you who've seen the movie Tremors probably get the idea of this monster, or at least our original idea for him, which was, that if you haven't seen the movie, it's really cool. It's a horror movie where there's these bunch of crazy carnivorous giant worms that live under the desert, and if you stand on sand, they eat you, and if you stand on rock, they can't get to you. So we really liked this idea because we liked the notion that the desert sand would feel really dangerous to the player and not just something they just want to run willy-nilly out onto. But this guy was really kind of a prime example of the difficulty of a more complex idea in a game like Diablo. And we'll show you kind of what our desired result was. So as I mentioned, we wanted to get this feeling that the sand wasn't safe. We wanted to have the Dune Thresher submerge only when he was on sand. If he was on any other surface like road or rock, he could not submerge and he couldn't burrow under it. So when he's submerged, he would be completely invulnerable, but when he's above ground, that's when he's actually able to be attacked and you can hurt him. And then we were going to let him actually attack you from under the sand, which means he could attack you at a point when you couldn't hurt him, which again would make him, the idea was to really get the player to play more tactically so that when they ran into this guy, they'd have to move over to kind of a rock outcrop or a road to try and get him to surface so they could attack him. So the actual result, which I'm going to guess won't play, there you go. At least it's predictable in its inconsistency. Players confused whenever the Dune Thresher was submerged, they just didn't see him. He had this cool fin that would stick out of the ground, but with all the effects and demons and all that crazy stuff going on, you just couldn't see it. So we tried to play up his attack when he was underground, but it just looked kind of silly. We had him diving kind of through, and it was very confusing. Like, is he above ground now or is he not? And then once players kind of finally did figure out how he worked, they didn't play more tactically. They just ignored him. They were like, oh, well, I can just go to the next screen where there's 100 other monsters and I'll kill them instead and just ignore that dude. So it didn't actually work. So we have a fix, which was to make the Dune Thresher more of a hunter. And so again, to play up that idea of a shark. And so the idea was that when he's submerged, he moves really fast, and that this is his way to catch the player. So the Dune Thresher, when he's distant from you, he goes underground and he just starts making a beeline for you. And then he can't attack from underground anymore, but this solves the problem of if players couldn't see him, because now he jumps up above ground, he's totally vulnerable, and you can attack him back. So it's a pretty cool character. We're pretty happy with him, but he's especially against ranged characters, but we still have never gotten that dream that we originally had of having this character that interacted with the environment. So there's a chance that we'll come back to him. All right, so we've got a couple little bloopers for you. We have a lot of stuff as we go through development that kind of goes wrong and haywire, and we thought it'd be fun to show you a couple of those. This actually wasn't. This was for internal. When we showed, first time we showed these characters off to the company, we just wanted to make them laugh. So this is one of the quests. Varna has been poisoned. She's not doing very well. She's supposed to stop now, but she didn't. Even when she died, she didn't. Yeah, it wasn't good. Something wrong with her. We're not quite sure what this is. But we do recommend you stay away from it. So that brings us to the end of our presentation, and I think we have some time for some Q&A.
Hour-long Diablo 3 Q&A tomorrow at 11:30. But we have some time for questions. The first question.
I'm really excited about. There's an echo. Is this going to come out before CLISM?
We don't discuss release dates ever. When it's done,